Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. It is Friday, October the 14th. Ian Cameron and Alex P. Smith with you, ready to break down the Friday NHL card. And I'm doing my Chris Collinsworth impression from several weeks ago when he went through that. That was that Dallas Tampa Bay. It was the first Sunday night NFL game of the season, and he sounded like shit. And boy, do I sound like it right now as well. Battling through some throat issues today. The voice is just shot, but we'll get you through this Friday show. Thankfully, it's not a Thursday or Saturday or Tuesday sized card. Right. We only have 4 games, of course, on this Friday slate, so we'll get to those in just a second. Briefly, we'll talk about last night, rapid fire fashion. Buffalo Sabres, nice win, workmanlike, solid, very good defensively. And Craig Anderson, turn back time for him. Very, very solid in net for Buffalo, leading them to a 4-1 victory over the Ottawa Senators. Very disappointing for me. We didn't have a few more goals. As growing up as a Sabre fan, I was happy to see Buffalo win, but was hoping for a few more goals as I really liked that over. It fell short, but look, give credit to both teams defensively, and both goalies, Forsberg and Anderson, played pretty well in that game. Toronto with a bounce back against Washington. Not pretty, not easy. But they got the job done and deserved to win, too. They heavily outshot Washington. And, Alex, there's issues right now with this Washington team for sure. Yeah. They look every bit like that team that we were worried about coming into the year. Lack of foot. I don't find, Alex, that they are as fast as they've been in years past. I'm seeing them lose puck battles. I'm seeing them lose foot race wars for loose pucks all over the ice, taking a lot of penalties. That was another issue for them last night, and it really hurt them in the third period. There's issues with Washington. And look, actually, I think one of the shockingly best parts about their game last night was the play of Charlie Lindgren. Believe it or not, without him, it could have been a lot worse for Washington. We saw Kemper struggle going from Colorado's blue line to Washington's in that first start he had against Boston. So, Alex, Washington looks like they've got some problems to fix right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's interesting because, you know, obviously everybody's looking at Ovechkin and getting the record. He's 21 goals short of tying Gordie Howe and getting the second place in the all-time goals list. The way this team is built, can he get 25, 30 goals? I mean, this is a guy who had been putting up 50 goals year after year after year. Now you wonder, you know, he's fine, but the rest of the team around him is not good at all right now. They're not in good form. They're playing as if they're a dead dog team in the middle of the season, and it's game 2. That's a really bad sign. And like I said, they're an older team. They just seem sore foot, losing puck battles, not passing the puck cleanly as well, something I mentioned the other day. There's going to be a lot of question marks now in Washington, and obviously you're not going to trade Ovechkin. But at the same time, it's like, you know, what do you do with this franchise? Because they don't have that much depth in Hershey. And it's not like they really, you know, they've kind of been a win now team for a long time, so they don't have a lot of things built up. A rebuild in 2 or 3 years would have to take a good while, honestly, with this team. So they got to get things rolling in the right direction sooner than later. Otherwise, it can get really ugly in the nation's capital.
It definitely could, and an 0-2 start for Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals. How about the Philadelphia Flyers? I've got them to be the worst team in the NHL, and well, for one night they made me look bad. With a nice win over New Jersey. But I watched that game. I had a ticket on the Devils. I laid the price with them on the road, knowing, hey, this is a flighty Devils team. I just thought Philly was that bad. Man, was that a comedy of errors for New Jersey defensively. Oh, my goodness, the turnovers, just the lack of proper coverage, losing forwards getting free and getting able to just have too much time and space in the offensive zone. Blackwood had a terrible rebound on one goal that resulted in one of the Philadelphia goals. So questions with him once again in net. What else is new? Very, very disappointing first game from New Jersey there.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, I'm not reading too much. Like I said, I wasn't going to read too much into really anything that happened with this game as far as wins and losses. These are 2 bad teams. The New Jersey's got more potential upside for this season, but you know, that was just a rough start. And the reason why I don't like New Jersey as much as some people do is because they can turn in efforts like they did last night. You know, Flyers, okay, they get a win. You know, sometimes a blind squirrel finds a nut. A broken clock is right twice a day. That's pretty much how I look at it. This is still a pretty bad Flyers team. And, you know, sometimes with these really bad teams, and we'll talk about another one later, you know, you want to look to maybe not instantly fade them the next game, but when you see these top, these bottom tier teams get their wins, they're not going to string them together 2, 3, 4 games in a row too often. So that's something to keep an eye on when we're talking about the Coyotes and Blackhawks and Flyers of the world.
Yeah, no doubt. And the other games last night that we saw Dallas 4-1. We both liked Dallas last night. We figured situationally, and believe it or not, we have another situation involving one of those teams that played over in Prague taking place tonight. We'll get to that. But yeah, Dallas 4-1. They jumped on Nashville early 2-0. What a first impression for Mason Marchment with his new team. Fantastic performance from him. And he was a great signing and addition for the Dallas Stars. And, nights where Ben and Sagan are quiet, you're going to have a guy like Mason Marchment there. Pavelski chipped in with a goal. What else is new? You got some opportunity to be a decent offensive team here with Dallas, with Hintz and Pavelski and Robertson. You now add Marchment. So a nice performance there from the Stars. We saw Vegas shut out Chicago 1-0. I got to give Stalock credit. He hung in there. Only gave up one goal, but again, Chicago gets shut down by the Golden Knights, who looked excellent defensively. They really did not give Chicago a whole lot. Logan Thompson gets the shutout for the Golden Knights, and we're finding out Thompson, pretty capable goalie. I think he's had a nice start to the year. Last year, he played pretty well. Seattle beating LA 4-1. That was been disappointing that LA starts 0-2. They had that very disappointing loss in the final minute against Vegas with the giveaway. And then last night, down by 2 goals on home ice, staring at an 0-2 start to the year, there was no push from them. I mean, it was really, really disheartening if I'm a Kings fan, seeing the way that game transpired last night. But give Seattle credit. What a bounce back from them after coughing it up against Anaheim to come back on a back-to-back on the road and get the job done against the Kings. A very good performance. They're going to be able to score goals this year, Seattle. We're finding that out. Burakovsky and Bjorkstrand have helped that offense. Matty Beniers, hits the score sheet again last night. Didn't score a goal, but got a point in the game. I mean, this is going to be a better offensive team. We saw Calgary take care of Colorado 5-3. There was a reason why Calgary was favored over the Stanley Cup champs last night. Definitely a spot and situational advantage for them, and they took advantage of it with the 5-3 win. And even when Colorado played pretty much a horrible game by their standards, there they are. They're still in the third period, making a push, making it interesting, and trying the empty net down by 2 goals, but they end up losing 5-3. And maybe the performance of the night has to go to the New York Rangers against the Minnesota Wild, a 7-3. Now, in the first period, if you watched that game, which I did quite a bit, and I know Alex did, Shesterkin had to make a bunch of good saves. I mean, Minnesota really did have their chances early, but the difference is Minnesota didn't finish their chances. New York, when they got them, they did finish their chances. That was the difference. That's why they got the early lead. Minnesota had a golden opportunity with an extended 5-on-3, and they could not capitalize on it. And right when that happened, I'm like, they probably lost their chance to get back into the game. And sure enough, Rangers pull away, add to the lead, and they end up winning 7-3. Man, do they look good. Offensively, defensively, the power play looks awesome. The special teams looks good. Shesterkin picking up where he left off last year. Nothing not to like about the New York Rangers so far through the first 2 games of the season. Kreider's advantage. Ed Kakko has come to life. He scores last night playing on that top line, taking advantage of an opportunity. No question about that. Great start for the Rangers. Really good fight, too, in the game. Marcus Foligno and Ryan Reeves. It was good to see that. Well, what a tough son of a gun Foligno is. Do you know how tough it is to say, yeah, I'm going to drop the gloves with big boy Ryan Reeves there? That's not an easy assignment. And Marcus Foligno took that assignment, trying to spark his team, trying to get them to wake up a little bit. So props to Marcus Foligno. You earned my respect for that last night. Alex, the rest of the games, what did you think?
Well, yeah, just going back to that Wild and Rangers game, like I said, don't want to overreact. It's the first week. It's the first home game. And the Wild got outclassed by a better team. It's simple as that. The Rangers, when they are healthy and they have everything rolling, they are one of the more dominant teams in hockey, if not the best team in the league. And like I said, I still think this is going to be a Stanley Cup final preview. I actually went out last night and talked to a lot of people because it was a big sellout crowd. Talked to a lot of people after the game just to kind of get the pulse of what just the general fan thinks. And a lot of people were saying the same thing. They said, okay, it wasn't so much that the Wild played really bad. It was just that the Rangers were just a really good team. And that just seems to be that kind of the consensus everywhere. So I don't knock the Wild down a peg or two in my rankings because of that loss. I think they still will be a solid team. They'll have another tough test against them, a team that they play really well against in the LA Kings, which you mentioned they lost 4-1 in Seattle. And the Kraken, like I said, yeah, with this burst of offense, you just wonder how long will it last? Can they be a team that gives you 4 or 5 goals every night, win or lose? It'll be interesting to see. But so far, so good. The offensive production for the Kraken. And you mentioned also talk about the Dallas win. Like I said, this is a Dallas team. I know everybody still thinks St. Louis can kind of hang around in the Central. The people who are kind of up and down with Nashville, but I think Dallas is definitely firmly in that top 3 right there with Minnesota and Colorado in the Central Division. Like you said, now adding Marchment, getting his offensive play, if they can get some balanced offense and scoring to go along with that defense, and of course the great goaltending from Ottinger, only allowing 1 goal in that game, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
About that. Yeah, I mean, that's last night was the first fall from grace for me in the NHL season from a betting standpoint. I mean, I had a great Tuesday, 2-1. Rangers cashed the over in the Vegas LA game. Wednesday was a terrific night. The props were just crushing it. Last night, the props not so much, and the side and totals weren't as strong. Like the Ottawa Buffalo over fell short for me last night. We saw the New Jersey didn't get it done. I did have Toronto in regulation, Dallas, Calgary. Did have a few winners there. Vegas team total falls way short against Chicago. And then LA and the Seattle LA over late in the night falls short. So, yeah, you're going to have losing nights. It happens. But still a good, profitable start to the year. No complaints.
Yeah, it's been a rough go for me in the first couple of days of the year. Did have Matt Zuccarello to score last night. That's the first player prop I've had all year and catch that. So, I'm going to be really select with those. I know, Ian, that's something you do a lot more than some of the other people. Some of the other guests we have rotate, do more player prop stuff. I don't do too much of that. I like to look at team stuff, but more specifically. Missed with the first period over on Florida and the Islanders. In Florida, it looks like it might take them a while to adapt to this new style, which makes me wonder, are they going to just go all in and keep playing this style, or is Maurice going to make some adjustments and say, hey, you guys used to a little bit more up tempo. Maybe we should kind of open things up a little bit more. They still had a ton of chances in that first period, as did the Islanders. There was we've seen a lot of high penalty calls early in games, which is something you like to have on your side when you have a first period over. You want to see that kind of revolving door to the penalty box. So those power play chances help you when you have that 1.5 or even especially a 2. And you look at a spot like Arizona and Pittsburgh where 5-minute span you get 3 goals from the Penguins. It's like I said, we know it's going to be a rough year for the Coyotes, but it's going to be hard to pinpoint those kind of spots where they're just going to lay an egg right out of the gate. You're going to see some teams hang around a little bit early, even though they're bad teams. The Hawks are a prime example, only allowing 1 goal. I was really stunned by that. I thought for sure, and Stay like he said, he looked good. If he can turn in those kind of performances, and like I said, he looked like the way he did 5-6 years ago. Those years when he was with the Wild and playing backup, and he was a solid 1B or number 2 option. But he's gone through a lot physically. And like I said, just kind of wondering where his headspace is at. He turned in a good effort against a Knights team, I should say, that is very solid. And Logan Thompson. If you can still find, Rookie of the Year props for him, he might be somebody to take a flyer on because he's going to get the bulk of the work. We already know that. And when he has these performances like he did last night, like I said, I saw him in person when he played against the Wild late in the season, and he looked good. He has the form to be a potential number 1 goalie. And now that he's being thrusted in that spot, he's not shying away from it. So you might actually be able to get some value. And we talk about, the guys in Seattle, and, everybody's talking about Owen Power, Buffalo, but Logan Thompson has a decent running for the Calder Trophy.
No doubt. There's a bunch of. I'm looking at that prop right now, and again, Logan Thompson's considered a rookie because this is only his first full season in the NHL. So that's why he's in that Calder Trophy categorization. But there's Beniers, McTavish, Power, Perfetti for the Jets, Marco Rossi for the Wild, Kent Johnson, Columbus, Kuzmenko. I think at 14-1 is not bad in terms of a little down the board option because I think he could have a big year for Vancouver. And obviously, we saw him score his first goal in his first game the other night against Edmonton. So there's definitely some good options there with the Calder trophy race. And thank you for the kind words there in the chat. Someone appreciate it very much. Their Bankroll Spence. There it is, best hockey show on the internet right now. We appreciate it. I think it's the best. And I'm glad you guys do, but it's certainly, I think, the most in depth. I don't think anybody goes to the depth of analysis we do, and if we do every single game, every single day, which makes this show unique and great. All right, speaking of great, let's see what great bets we can find on the Friday NHL card. Let's start with Tampa Bay and Columbus. Tampa Bay minus 200 road favorites, 6 the total in this game. So initially, I was actually had Columbus circled in this spot. Home opener. I'm not in a rush to back Tampa Bay early in the year. We talked about how they might just be looking to ease into the season. You know, if they go 0-2, 0-3 to start the year, I don't think it's a panic situation for the Lightning. You know, it's a very experienced team. They've been through the wars before. A slow start is not going to, rattle them too much. But then Columbus suffers the 4-1 loss to Carolina. I was not as impressed with them as I thought I would be, certainly not their offense. And look, Carolina is a pretty good defensive team, but once Patrick Laine, who got their only goal, once he got injured in that game, and we're finding out today that Laine is going to be out at least a month, it looks like, or at least upwards of a month with his injury. That's a big loss. He's the guy that got their only goal against Carolina the other night. And the chemistry that it looked like he might be able to develop with Johnny Gaudreau and Boone Jenner was going to be a big catalyst offensively for Columbus, and now you don't have that available to you. So that's going to be an adjustment. Kent Johnson's been called back up to the Jackets. He will be in the lineup tonight. Looks like they're going to play him on the third line with Cole Sillinger and Gus Nyquist. Looks like that's going to be your third line. You might be asking, with Laine out, who is going to get that top line right wing position for Columbus? They're going to give it to Justin Danforth, it looks like, on that right wing top line with Boone Jenner and Johnny Gaudreau. And right away, you know what that means. Has me gravitating to the prop market where, look, they're playing a Tampa Bay team that's going to want to bounce back after the loss to New York. A Ranger team that we're seeing after 2 games is playing damn good. So it's not really a real shame in that. But they did look lethargic. They did look a step slow against New York. They'll have to be a whole lot better here. We know Tampa long-term, Alex, off a loss is very good. Can that be the case here is going to be the question. And I know it won't be easy to score on Tampa. You know, Columbus only got 1 goal against Carolina. You're facing Andrei Vasilevsky tonight, who is the starter in net, one of the best goalies in the NHL, no question. But at the prices you're seeing with Danforth to score a goal, like we're seeing plus 480, all right, on him to score a goal tonight in some spots. He's going to be on the top line. You've got, for me, when I see that kind of price, plus 480 on a guy playing on the top line to score a goal, I have to bet it. I just have to bet it at that price, plus 480. And it doesn't have to be a big bet. It can be just a few bucks. You have to put a little something on it when you see plus 480 on Justin Danforth when he's going to be on the top line to score a goal here tonight in this game. I wouldn't mind even Kent Johnson for Columbus because I think he's going to have a nice season. I know he's not on the top 6. He's on the third line, but that could be a prop you look at. Tampa Bay, I think they'll play a lot better. I think they'll probably win the game, but I'm not in a rush to lay the price with them here. You'd expect a lot of their big, like Kucherov didn't do a lot. Braden Point even didn't do a lot against the Rangers the other night. So they need a little bit more out of them here in this game. Tampa probably wins, but and usually off a loss, I want to back Tampa. Not at this price, though, and this ain't the same situation. I think this really could be a season where Tampa Bay, this might be not the month you want to back them game in and game out here in the month of October. So it's a tricky game because I was actually going to line up and take a shot with the home dog here, Columbus, but then they look offensively out of sorts against Carolina. Then Laine gets hurt, and it's pretty much taken me out of back in Columbus here as well. Alex, what do you think here, Tampa Bay, Columbus?
Yeah, this is a game I'm more than likely going to pass. But if I had to bet something on it, I would probably maybe look at Tampa Bay first period puck line, laying the half goal at plus 135, and then look to approach it from a live angle. If they don't cash that, maybe try to look for a live over, looking for a live first period over when that number drops down. We always talk about trying to get the best of a 1.5 in that minus 130 to a plus range. Sometimes if you see a team that's, kind of playing it really low and slow, you get lucky with a plus 150, and then it hits that half goal mark, and then you're laying a 140 or 150 there as well. So just only need 1 goal late in the period. If you're seeing, it's kind of scoreless, teams just aren't really, taking a lot of chances of being conservative in that first 10 minutes. Things might open up in that second. You kind of split the period into 10-minute intervals. We see a lot of people do that with the yes, no prop on the first 10-minute goals. So you kind of look at that second 10 minutes and try to adjust for something live. That may be the approach you want to take with Tampa Bay games because, like I said, the way that they're starting off this year, it's a bit slow. And we're not seeing that offensive rush that we've seen from Tampa Bay in years past. So that's the thing. Also, when you're looking at a third string goalie, which Columbus is, we're going with Tarasov again in net, you want to see the form that he's at. He looked really good in the first period against Carolina in that first game. So maybe he's one of those guys that starts off hot, and then as he wears down, the teams kind of adjust and can kind of pick him apart later on during the game. Once again, that leads to some possible live betting advantages for next to score. Depending on how, and Tampa Bay is one of the best teams in the league when it comes to adjusting in game. So definitely screams live spot for me, but as of right now, I got nothing.
Yeah, I think it's more of a prop game for me. Take a shot with a couple for Tampa Bay. Nick Paul is of interest to me here for them. And like I said, Danforth on the top line, plus 480 to score a goal. I mean, I've just got to bet that. He may not score, but I'd take a chance on it at that price for a top line player playing with a Johnny Gaudreau. no doubt about it. It's a good price there. And like I said, Sillinger, Johnson for Columbus. And Shinnikov too. I wouldn't talk anyone out of coming back to Shinnikov because he did have a great preseason. Didn't score against a good Carolina team. But second line, I still think there's a potential for him to be an offensive contributor this year for the Columbus Blue Jackets. All right, next up, we got the Montreal Canadiens and the Detroit Red Wings. Detroit minus 160, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. It feels like just that classic spot for a very young hockey team like Montreal, where they were amped up, totally excited to get that season going against Toronto. And a Toronto team that, look, I think part of the reason why Montreal was able to win that game is I think Toronto assumed it was just going to be easy street the other night. It's Montreal. They've got 5 inexperienced blue liners for them outside of David Savard. How are they going to beat us? How are they going to defend us? And sure enough, they got outworked. If you watch that game, clear as day from the beginning, Toronto Maple Leafs in that game, they got outworked, they got outplayed, they got out-hustled by the Montreal Canadiens. That's why Montreal won that game. It's the old age-old adage, and it still applies. Will beats skill. All right, it does. And Montreal had more will in them on Wednesday night than Toronto did. And that was the difference. Plus, Toronto with terrible puck management, turnovers, just gaffes, including the game-winning goal where Jake Muzzin throws it right up the middle of the ice in his own zone with 20 seconds left. I mean, just nonsensical, horrible mistakes with the puck you just can't have happen. And Montreal was able to capitalize on it. Montreal, they'll give Cole Caulfield 2 goals in that game. They're going to be able to score, especially if you don't manage the puck. And I'm telling you right now, the Detroit Red Wings found that out. The Toronto Maple Leafs found that out, that the rush chances that you allow to the Montreal Canadiens can be deadly. Let's see if Detroit maybe picks up on that. I'm sure Derek Lalonde, who I think is a great hire for Detroit, their new head coach, a John Cooper disciple, assistant with him for years, comes from a winning culture. I think you're going to see him really drill that into his team's heads going into tonight. Don't turn the puck over against Montreal because they can still capitalize on it. For the Red Wings, I'm high on this team coming into the year. That I think they're going to be a much improved team potentially. I'm going to stop short of saying they make the playoffs, but I do think they're an improved hockey team. You have to be, in my opinion, when you add a David Perron, just a guy that is both great at both ends of the ice. 5-on-5 offense, the power play. He's going to strengthen that significantly. Defensively away from the puck, he's a good forward. Andrew Kopp, a great two-way center. You add him. You've got Oli Mata, Ben Sherratt on the blue line, 2 very experienced defensemen added to this Detroit team to help out Mo Seider as he continues to evolve into one of the better defensemen in the league. Robert Haig is someone that's a veteran defenseman, stay at home, can block shots, that kind of player. You need some of those on your team. They're going to be able to score when you look at that forward group. Lucas Raymond, Dylan Larkin, Tyler Bertuzzi had a great preseason. Vrana, Kopp, Perron. I don't mind sprinkling on all of those guys in the Detroit top 6 to find the back of the net tonight. I'm still not sold on the Montreal blue line. I know they won against Toronto, but you're talking about a blue line that coming into the year, you've got Caden Gooley, Arbor Jacki, Chris Weidman, Jordan Harris, Johnny Kovacevic. And with Mike Matheson out long term, that's going to be a Montreal defense that's going to have their growing pains, clearly. And, they survived Toronto, but Toronto gifted them so many of their goals. Plus, you look at Montreal wanting to beat Toronto. It's like a Stanley Cup type of feel for them. They wanted the game so badly, beating their rival and getting off to a good start. But now you go from that great home atmosphere, beating the Leafs, to now going on the road, facing Detroit. I could see this very young team not having the maturity to back it up and play as well tonight here against Detroit. And I just think the Red Wings are going to end up being a better team this year than the Canadiens as well. So I'm on Detroit in regulation here. That's the bet for me. You can get a nice price on that, around minus 108. Pretty good price with the Red Wings in regulation tonight to take care of business here. I lean to the over. I do have a smaller bet on the over here with the Canadiens and the Red Wings. By the way, it will be Jake Allen, Billy Husso, two former St. Louis Blues. That's the common thread there. Two former St. Louis Blues in net for their respective teams tonight. Husso making his Red Wings debut. Interesting to see how he plays. But I'm on Red Wings in regulation as my primary wager in this game. Alex, what do you think here, Montreal, Detroit?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's the first bet I made this morning. I got up and I was able to grab minus $1.15. You actually got a better price than I did. And we've seen that kind of come down just a little bit. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact that, they were waiting to see if Husso or Nedeljkovic was confirmed. So it's Husso tonight. Nedeljkovic will be playing tomorrow against New Jersey, which, I might be looking at an over there possibly, even though I think Nedeljkovic is going to have a better bounce back year. I think a lot of people, and I have my goalie charts, they're up at patreon.com/iceguys, but I think I am higher on Nedeljkovic than a lot of people. I think a lot of people are thinking that what they saw last year is what he's going to continue to do. And like I said, I think with a lot of goalies this year, they're going to be able to find a way to bounce back. The thing with Detroit is that with Ville Husso, he had a phenomenal year last year. And he was pretty much the number 2 option at the beginning of the season, and then thrusted himself into a 1A, 1B situation, eventually being the number 1 goalie for St. Louis, helping them get into the playoffs. And it wasn't that he just completely fell off the earth in the postseason. It was just that he kind of faltered a little bit, and the Blues wanted to shake some things up. They went back to Bennington, and Bennington was in tremendous form the rest of the way, even in their second round loss to Colorado. So with Husso, you've got a strong enough sample size, and you got tape on him now where he didn't have that much NHL experience before last season in a full year. Now you kind of wonder, okay, will he regress a little bit and be just kind of a 500 goalie, or can he keep that momentum forward and be a true number 1? That's the thing with Detroit. They're running 1A, 1B right now, but if Husso shows any signs like he did last year, he can run away with his job and end up getting 55, 60 starts. So I like Detroit here in this spot. Montreal, like you said, it's insane how Toronto could just think they could sleepwalk with Montreal when, just 2 years ago, you played them as one of the worst teams in the league in the playoffs, and you got bounced out of there. Toronto shouldn't be taking anyone lightly.
Yeah, aren't you supposed to get a clue from what happened 2 years ago that maybe you got to actually put your work boots on and be ready to play for a full 60 minutes, regardless of who you play? There's not a such thing as a free 2 points in this league. Toronto apparently doesn't know that yet.
And against a rival, no less, too. The rivalry of Toronto and Montreal is more than well documented. How do you take your foot off the gas if you're either team in that spot? I don't know, but like I said, for Montreal here, getting that win could be a little bit of a letdown here. So maybe even look at Detroit first period as well as a full game in regulation.
Yeah, I considered that actually first period as well, but I decided I'd just go with the full game because, you could see Montreal just a little carry over from the game, and then Detroit gets stronger. Plus Detroit with the not having played and Montreal having played, that maybe Montreal is just a little more fluidity early. That's why I went to the full game.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the regulation, that's the one official play I have is Detroit regulation.
Yeah, Detroit in regulation for both of us here with this one. By the way, one last thing about props. I mentioned it. I've sprinkled just on small, very small, because I'm spraying the board here with these top 6 forwards, but Bertuzzi, Perron, Larkin, Raymond, all these guys for Detroit. We've got some kind of play on them to score a goal. For Montreal, back to Caulfield, because I think he's that good right now. And you're not going to get plus 200 on him to score a goal forever you're going to see eventually that come down more toward where it should be, I think, plus 150 or so. So definitely some props to look at there with Habs Red Wings. All right, Rangers and Jets. We've got the Winnipeg Jets. How about minus 140 now? Home favorites here, the Winnipeg Jets, 6.5 the total. It is a stone cold Winnipeg spot. I mean, there is no denying that whatsoever when you think of what's transpiring here. The Rangers beat Tampa on Tuesday, go on the road, beat Minnesota 7-3 last night, third game in 4 nights, albeit early in the season. So these 3 and 4 nights aren't as taxing, or they don't wear you down physically like they would, say, in January or February or March when it's later in the season. So keep that in mind. Everybody's still fresh as a daisy for the most part. So, but still tricky spot because you go from Minnesota on the road. You pretty much, I think they wanted to make a statement there because they know Minnesota's a good team in the Western Conference, and boy, did they make a statement. Like we talked about in the Open, played a great game, offense, defense, special teams. They've looked great in 2 games. Now you go on the road for a second straight game. You got a lesser team here, Winnipeg, and you're going to rest Igor Shesterkin. You're going to give Yaroslav Halak his first start in the regular season as a New York Ranger. So there's definitely some warning signs that, are you going to get New York's best tonight? That's a legit question. Everything, actually, believe it or not, surprisingly positive if you believe the articles for Winnipeg, saying that Rick Bowness is really challenging this team to be better defensively. They've really worked hard at that end of the ice going into this season opener. Let's see how it transpires tonight. See if this is a better Winnipeg team defensively, because that's where the problems were last year. And that's what Rick Bowness wants the team to be. He wants them to be in a few more 3-1, 3-2 games this year, much like we saw with the Dallas Stars when he coached there last year. So it definitely a huge situational advantage for Winnipeg. I don't hate the reasoning and the rationale behind backing Winnipeg, but I don't know, at minus 140, I could do it at this point with where this price is now. And it's going to be interesting to see, too. We've got, I think Kyle Connor will have a nice year for them playing with Scheifele and Ehlers. Cole Perfetti, who they've had hopes for to be a big-time offensive difference maker for them. He's going to get his first big opportunity here, second line for the Winnipeg Jets with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Blake Wheeler. So let's see how he handles that. Morgan Barron, one of their prospects, made the team as well, and going to be the third line with Lowry and Appleton as well. So we'll see how that goes. Look, this is, and I was talking to someone who, a good friend of mine and very good NHL bettor, and he said this feels like this game, New York and Winnipeg, feels and looks like Colorado Calgary last night, where you should want to take Colorado as an underdog, as its defending Stanley Cup champions. You should want to take the New York Rangers, one of the best teams in the league, as an underdog. But there's a reason the opponent is favored. And I said, okay, you're half right, but here's the difference with the two situations. Calgary, with their best game, Alex, Calgary is close to Colorado. There's not a huge gap between those two teams. When Calgary's at their best, they can play with Colorado. They can beat Colorado, 6 times out of 10, or at least split, go 5-5 if they played each other 10 times in a row. With the Rangers and the Jets, I don't feel that way. That's the big difference. I think the Rangers are significantly better than the Winnipeg Jets. So it's not quite the same. Whereas, it was a situational edge for Calgary last night, but they can beat Colorado. That's a really good hockey team. Yes, it's a situational edge for Winnipeg here tonight, which is why they're favored by this kind of price. But I don't feel that way about them against New York like I did with Calgary against Colorado. Winnipeg's not this much better than New York,
right,
where they should be minus 140 favorites. So it's a pass for me. I lean under, believe it or not. Hopefully Halak's good. That's the wild card, right? That Halak has some good games, and he can still play well. I remember there was a game last year. He stood on his head a couple of times, but he also had some really rough games. So it depends on which Jarl Halak we're going to see here tonight. But I'm going to lean under, because I'll tell you what, Winnipeg might be starting to become more of an under team, because they've really, really honed in on defensive details throughout training camp. Let's see if it shows itself here tonight in their first regular season game. Alex, what do you think here, Rangers Jets?
Yeah, this is definitely one that I have circled for a live wager. I'll be looking at the first period over at anything in plus money range. Like I said, even if we do see Halak play well, this is something I would try to look for and try to catch the half goal over late in the first period because, like I said, the Winnipeg, they're trying to play more of a defensive style. But can you contain the New York Rangers? Even with the third game at 4 nights, like I said, if we see any kind of weakness with the Rangers tonight, I expect it to be more on the back end than the front end. The offense looks to be rocking and rolling the way that they were passing the puck last night. I think, like you said, this is not a fatigue spot necessarily for the Rangers. I think they will still be able to get their offense rolling. And like I said, Winnipeg is not on the same defensive plateau as the Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota Wild are usually a very responsible defensive team, but they got caught looking quite silly at times against the Rangers. So if the Jets, they're trying to implement a new system, but if they don't have it down pat right away, and as good as Hellebuck is, we could see them maybe give up a goal or two early in this contest. So, 6.5, yeah, definitely can't touch the full game over. But I would look to get, like I said, plus money or even a half goal. So something late, something definitely after the 15-minute mark. If we have no scoring, I'll be looking for a first period over with the Rangers and Jets.
To answer Cheshire Cat's question, I might actually have a couple bucks on the under. It's nothing significant. It wouldn't be like an official play status type of bet, but I might put a couple bucks on under 6.5. It is 6.5. And like I say, if we're going to buy, I'm going to buy in a little bit to Winnipeg wants to play a little bit better defensively, not be trading chances like they did last season. And that's definitely something that Rick Bowness has been echoing throughout training camps. As far as props go, really, there's not a huge game for me with player props. I have one on each team that I really like. I have Kakko again for the Rangers because he's still undervalued, believe it or not, for a top line player. I mean, plus 335. I mean, really, to score a goal and he's on the top line and playing with DJ Zibanejad, and Kreider. I mean, to me, that's tough to pass up that kind of price. And I might look at a Cole Perfetti for Winnipeg, someone that I think he's finally got his chance. He's on the second line. He's going to get opportunity. He is a skilled offensive player. And Cole Perfetti to score a goal tonight at plus 360 is the price you can find with that. And he's going to get the second line tonight with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Blake Wheeler for the Jets. So those are two players I would look at for props when it comes to that game. All right, the final game now on this Friday NHL slate, Carolina Hurricanes, San Jose Sharks. Carolina minus 200 road favorites here, 6 the total in this game. We saw it yesterday play out to perfection. We're worried about Nashville coming back from the Czech Republic for that first home game. We're worried about San Jose, or at least I am as well tonight. First home game back from the Czech Republic. And even though they play a day later, a little bit more time, obviously, for San Jose compared to Nashville, but they also have more travel going back from the Czech Republic all the way to the West Coast there in the Bay Area in San Jose. Regardless, even with the extra day, it's still a tricky spot for San Jose returning home for this first game. Carolina, clearly the better team in a good spot. I think they could take it to San Jose in this game. The one little nagging concern is Carolina's actually had a tough time in San Jose. Believe it or not, it's been a really, really tough, bizarre, and strange, and quite frankly, rough series history for the Hurricanes in San Jose. But I'm going to look past that for tonight. Maybe it's just a place that they struggle in, but there is no question about it. The Hurricanes are in a much better situation here than San Jose. We saw Nashville. It looked like they were stuck in mud, last night against Dallas. They really didn't have a whole lot going. They had a bad start. They never recovered from it. I think it could be that same way for San Jose. And I stick to my guns here that San Jose is going to be one of the worst teams in the NHL and maybe the worst team in the West this year. Timo Meier, Tomas Hertl, and Logan Couture. If you don't get consistent offense from anybody outside of those guys, you're going to have a tough time finding the back of the net with what you've got on the third and the fourth line, which isn't much. And then the blue line this year, I mean, you got Erik Karlsson not getting any younger or better. Matt Benning's been bounced around. Seamek, Jacob Magna, Marc-Edouard Vlasic finally had a decline last year. As great a defenseman and shutdown defenseman as he's been, it's not probably the best days are a little bit behind him. And then you've got two goalies with Reimer and Kakkonen. It's going to be Reimer tonight for San Jose, facing one of his former teams, I should point out. But, Reimer and net, who's just at this stage, I don't think a number one goalie that we trust every single day. So I like Carolina here, and I'm actually going to double up with Carolina in terms of split this up between first period puck line, -0.5, plus 140, first period puck line, and also Carolina in regulation at minus 128 is what I was able to get with that. So I think it's a nice little split bet. Something I considered doing with Dallas last night, but I didn't. Now, it didn't matter because they won the game anyway. But you saw in the first period, that was really where they jumped on Nashville. I could see Carolina doing the same thing here against San Jose. Get on that Sharks team early, get a lead, and then end up getting the victory after that. And from a prop standpoint, back to the well with our guy, Seth Jarvis. You know who scored in the first game against Columbus, plus 265 to score a goal tonight. And we're going to once again do it Presidents of the USA style. Move into the country. Gonna meet me a Marty Natchez. Martin Natchez scored as well against Columbus and plus 325 for him to score a goal tonight. I think that's worth a look as well. And he is going to get opportunity playing on that second line for the second straight game with Svechnikov and Kotkaniemi for the Carolina Hurricanes. So there you have it, a few props, and Carolina first period puck line and in regulation full game. Alex, Carolina, San Jose, what do you like?
Yeah, I would slightly lean with that Canes first period puck line as well. And like I said, don't be discouraged by the fact that Carolina's lost 6 straight in San Jose, and the home team is 20-7 in the last 27 meetings. Because when you look back at those last dozen games or so, most of them were taking place in the middle of the year, even as far back as a couple of years ago, where it was a late October game and it was the end of a road trip. So obviously, when you're talking about a San Jose, a far West Coast team, and a far East Coast team in Carolina, you're oftentimes talking about when the road trips are starting or ending for any given team. So Carolina starting a fresh 5-game road trip off of a win at home. I think this is a fresh and good spot for them. So I can see them coming out with some energy early. And of course, Brent Burns, everybody's talking about him coming back to San Jose.
Brent Burns, got to get in on him. Point and to score a goal. We like that angle. The player against his former team. We always like that.
Yep. And especially in this spot, because he was a really big fan favorite in San Jose. And so I've been seeing nothing but tweets and people, coming out and supporting him. So that'll be a moment for sure. I'm sure there'll be a moment with him on the Jumbotron and different things. You can see him being a bit jazzed up. But San Jose, like I said, coming back off of the Prague trip, you just want to kind of see where their head is at. This isn't a good team anyway. So, like I said, we sasaw Nashville get trounced early. It could be even uglier for San Jose because, like I said, Carolina wants to start the road trip off hot. They're a much better team. So, I'll go on and make it official too. I'm right there with you with Carolina first period puck line. You got plus 135. I'm look for that and bet that as well.
All right, yeah, the Carolina puck line first period -0.5. Yeah, you can get plus 140 in some spots. So it's a solid price there. I'm on that as well as Carolina in regulation -128. Hey, it's set up on a silver platter for Carolina here. They're the better of these two teams. They're in the better situation and better spot to finally snap that losing streak in San Jose. If it doesn't happen tonight, then probably won't back Carolina and San Jose anytime soon in the next few years. Put it that way. There's no better opportunity for Carolina to finally get a win in San Jose from a situational standpoint than tonight. I don't believe they've had a goalie confirmation, Carolina, yet, but I'd assume it's going to be Freddie Anderson again in between the pipes for them. We know it's Reimer for the San Jose Sharks, but I would expect it to be Frederik Andersen here tonight for the Carolina Hurricanes in this one. All right, there we go. That is the Friday NHL card. We appreciate everybody, as always, tuning in here on the Ice Guys show. Hit the like button if you're watching us on YouTube. We appreciate it. Anderson confirmed 10 minutes ago, says someone in our chat. So there we go, as expected. Okay. Yeah, Freddie Anderson once again in that. And remember, there's no back-to-back. That's the one thing. The East Coast teams out west, a lot of times you have to worry about back-to-backs. They're off tomorrow. They play in Seattle on Sunday after this, Carolina. So not a back-to-back situation, and that's why you're seeing Frederik Andersen in net tonight. But we appreciate it. Hit the like button. One of the things that's been good about now with National Hockey Now is I'm in charge of posting the podcasts every day. So you're going to notice that the podcasts are pretty quick in terms of how they're up there. I mean, usually shows that are over around 3:30, usually they'll be up. The podcast will be available by 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. Like today's show is going to be over earlier. So you'll probably get the podcast ready to roll by 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. So nice and quick with the podcasts being uploaded. And remember, the Ice Guys podcast version of this show each and every day, 7 days a week, is available on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts now as well. So it's on all those platforms. Make sure you check it out. We have our first live Ice Guys Betcast on Tuesday, October 25th. So that's a week from this upcoming Tuesday. We're looking forward to that, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you join us for that. All right, best bets. To wrap up this edition of the show, Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Oh, wait, me or you?
There we go.
Yeah, we're gonna head out to the Motor City. We're gonna back the Detroit Red Wings in regulation. I got minus $1.15. Shop around for a better price. I think we're gonna see them get off to a hot start. A lot of people, and I've actually heard a quote from a couple of NHL scouts who said that they think of all the teams that have really made moves and bolstered things in the offseason. Everybody's talking about Buffalo and Ottawa in that Atlantic Division. There's a lot of people who think that Detroit has done not so many big name moves, but enough moves to put together the right pieces, which that's crucial. Obviously, you don't always need big names, but they play as a full team unit, and obviously have a good goalie like Billy Husso, who's probably one of the better goalies they've had in quite some time in Detroit. They should be able to take care of business here against a lowly Montreal team. So let's go with the Red Wings in regulation minus $1.15 is my best bet.
All right, Detroit in regulation against Montreal, best bet for Alex P. Smith. Mine is going to be Carolina in regulation, minus 128 against San Jose. Again, we took advantage of this situation last night against Nashville, and we're going to try to take advantage of this same situation tonight against San Jose. The first game back from the from the Czech Republic. Carolina, the better team anyway. Carolina to get the job done here in regulation, minus 128 against San Jose. That'll be my best bet for this Friday NHL slate. All right, that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys, and we'll give the voice a rest for a little bit, get some lozenges and some water in my system, and tea, lemon tea, all kinds of stuff. We'll try to make sure we got this voice at least a little bit better for tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, make sure you join us. It is a huge card tomorrow.
Yes.
We are looking forward to it. 14 games. I think we're going to do away with the recap segment tomorrow. We'll just get right into the Saturday card tomorrow, because it is a big one. We've got 14 games on tap for Saturday in the NHL. So it is a huge card. We're looking forward to breaking it down. Our first huge Saturday slate of the season. Just that excitement level, that bolt of electricity through your veins when you've got that first Saturday slate, Alex, to look forward to. And it'll be fun tomorrow breaking that down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, now we got these huge cards on the Saturdays, and it's a lot of fun. And random side note, too, involving that, if for those of you who have Bet Online accounts, there's a free pick'em contest where you can pick all 15 sides and a couple of the totals for tomorrow. And they're giving away a total of $10,000 in prizes. First place gets $500. So it's something I jumped in for, just a little fun kind of thing. So it's something, if you're watching the show tomorrow, you have a BOL account, maybe look through that, and we can kind of help you along with the big card tomorrow.
Yeah, no question. Definitely give that check that out and give that a look for sure. Great time to get involved with something like that on a huge NHL card like tomorrow. So make sure you join us for that. Thanks to everyone for joining us today for another edition of the Ice Guys NHL Hockey Betting Show. For Alex P. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Saturday, noon Eastern time. Remember the start time. That is our start time on weekends, noon Eastern. We will be with you tomorrow on Saturday to break down the huge Saturday NHL card. Make sure you join us for that Saturday, noon Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.